Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put the materials on these elements. I do suggest that you watch the Create New Materials tutorial first, and even maybe add in materials to other elements first, just because you'll have a better understanding of how putting materials on something works. As because this one I may not show everything that I will show in there. So if you go to the Manage tab and you click on Materials, again, this is all going to be in the tutorial video materials. This is your material library that you have here, and you can see it's pretty straightforward. To create a new material, you just click on this kind of like center icon and hit Create New Material. And I'm going to call this one. First, I'm going to do this screen right here. And I'm going to do this one as wood, so I'm going to do wood screen. And you can see there are kind of woods already created, but I want this to be a separate wood, so that's why I'm giving it its own material. So this graphic stuff, I'm not gonna do here because I talk about it in the materials tutorial. So I'm just gonna go to appearance. So you can see here, this appearance tab, there's no material on it. If you click on this little icon right here, kind of looks like two boxes with arrows, kind of like in a circular pattern. It opens the asset browser, which gives you two folders that pertain more towards what we're doing for this. So the first one is auto physical assets. So this is thermal properties and weights for materials. So this will probably be important for the second half, where if you're doing energy calculations, Revit will pick up the thermal properties of all your materials and put that in. So if something that you create custom, probably for the second half of the semester, you're going to want to make sure you put in a physical asset for it. But the biggest folder for material purposes is the appearance library, which if you expand it, it gives you all the different types of materials that you have. And if you click on them, or if there's an expanded folder, you can, click on any expansion, the drop downs that they have. But if I want to click on wood, you can see that there's a whole bunch of different types of wood. And I'm just going to click on and do this. Actually, I think there's one for. I thought there was. I'll just use a red oak. That's good enough. So there's that. So that's kind of like what it's going to look like. And I'm going to hit OK. So now you can see, as I show you in the materials tool, you can use the paint tool to paint stuff on a facade or like a plane. But you can see some stuff you like on mullions and stuff you can't click on. And then these things that I created, I can't click on because you actually have to be in the edit in place to add materials to it. So you can see now that I'm in edit in place, I could use the paint tool to paint this wood on the surfaces. However, if you want every single so this paint tool, as I described in the materials tutorial, is used to paint just one surface of an extrusion, or if it's a wall, just one surface of a wall with a material. Now, if this whole thing is wood, which in this circumstance I'm saying that it is, you can click on, if it's a model group, you can click on Edit Group. And now you can click on this whole extrusion, and where it says Material in the Properties window, there's like a little box. If I show you that again, there's a little box when you click on it, and this little thing shows up. And then now you can find that wood screen and add it to it. So now that has the wood screen material to it. And since I grouped it, now all of them have the wood screen material to it. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this. I'm going to edit the group, and I'm going to use the same the wood screen material to it. Obviously, if it was metal or something, maybe you would create another material. But I'm going to just leave it as that. So now if we switch to the realistic view, you can see the wood material that we just put on. And it added it to everything that you had. So now if we come over to this one, let me finish out of this model. Come over to this one, I'm going to do the same thing. First I'm going to go to edit in place, and then I'm going to go to manage, and just a kind of a hint, a quick thing to talk about. This manage materials is available in anything. So right now I'm out of it, the edit in place, but even if I go into edit in place, I can still go to manage and material. So it doesn't really matter when you create the material. You can do it whenever. So this one I am going to rename it, and I'm going to call it screen. And once it's renamed, find it. So again, if I go to the Appearance tab and open up the Asset Browser, the first thing I'm going to show you is, like, if you go to metal, there's not really a metal there that you could want to get. That maybe would look like a screen. Now you could, with that little center extrusion that I did, you could maybe do little tiny cutouts to get it to look like a screen, and then apply a metal finish to it. But that would really make it kind of like a big extrusion and add a lot of memory and file size to Revit. So there is a way to fake it, and this is how I fake it. So it looks right is if you actually go to fabric, there is two materials that are called either mesh or netted. So if you click on mesh and then hit OK, and then now if I grab this whole thing and I say that it's that screen, you can now see it adds that mesh to it. So it's kind of like a little way to kind of, without having to do the little extrusions, like you could do an extrusion and void out, or as one extrusion itself, void out all these little circles or octagons, whatever they may be, to get the screen look, and then apply a metal finish to it, metal material to it, but it would really be a big file, kind of like a big model in place, where sometimes it's just easier to kind of fake it with a material that kind of looks like a screen. And then again, this one, if I want, I can do kind of like that wood screen kind of border finish if I want it like that, or some other material that you could do to it. And then just to show you the paint tool, where you can paint a different edge. If I find, like, say aluminum. Now with the paint tool, I'm just going to paint that surface aluminum. So you can see how the rest of it is the wood, or if I click here, that's aluminum, but the rest could be wood. Obviously that's not what would happen in this circumstance with this kind of screen, but something else that you may have. Particularly that's for like walls. So if this was a wall, maybe on the inside you'd have paint or something, or then on the outside you'd have your exterior material, whatever it is, that you can easily paint on. But again, that's something that I show in the material tutorial on the different ways that you can do that. So that's pretty much it for how to model in place. Again, here I showed a screen because there's been a few people asking me, like, screens and shading devices and good ways to do them. And obviously these were basic ones, maybe not something exactly what you're looking for. But this could be used for anything that you want to model in place, any kind of custom piece to your building, or something that can't be done using the the typical tools that you have here for walls and windows and stuff like that. So that's it for this tutorial.